welcome to part 2 of my guide to making lipstick. So before we get on with part 2, a little bit of a disclaimer. The formulas shown here and in the ebook are shown as examples only. They're to be used as a guide for your own experiments. These formulas and recipes are experiments created for the purpose of sharing on Patreon and YouTube. I don't make any claims as to my qualifications and the efficacy of the formulas, which are shown here for entertainment purposes, and I accept no responsibility for how you use them. I'm self-taught and I offer these videos from my years of knowledge and experience in making my own cosmetic products. Remember to do your own research, experiments, adjustments and tests before using, gifting or selling any cosmetic products. Both parts of this 2-part video series are accompanied by an ebook. The ebook contains information on common ingredients used in lipsticks, their function, how they're used, plus 12 formulas from all of the videos, and also a list of ingredient suppliers so that you can buy the ingredients used. The ebook's available to buy via the link below. You can use code YouTube10 for 10% off, or if you're a patron, then you can claim it for free. You can become a patron via the Patreon link below. So in part 2, I'm covering liquid lipstick. Much like solid lipsticks, they comprise mostly of a combination of oil and wax, and butter if you like, and pigment, mixed in ratios to give a liquid texture. However, because of it being liquid, it's much easier to transfer and rub off, so certain ingredients will be added to help minimise this. Here you'll see me measuring out various different ingredients to make 6 different liquid lipsticks. To know what these ingredients are, you'll need to purchase the lipstick ebook, as I was doing too many formulas here to list all the ingredients because I was somewhat multitasking. The first couple that I'm making are using mostly natural ingredients. It is possible to make a nice completely natural lipstick, but to make it transfer proof it will require additions that aren't. One such addition would be a silicone. These work to create a film to seal the lipstick on the lips, along with other benefits. There are also ingredients to create a matte effect, both in liquid and powder form. Don't forget to wear a respirator though. Ingredients to help it spread nicely, and then extras like flavour oils, preservatives and SPF enhancers. Note that you can't claim UV protection for your products though without proper lab testing. Before I start actually making the products, I'm getting all of my ingredients weighed out accurately and put into beakers depending on their phase. Get yourself some really good trade approved scales in order to make lipstick, as I'm doing 100 gram batches here, so you can clearly see what I'm doing, but that will go a long way. If you're testing out a formula, then I recommend a smaller batch. You can reduce the batch size by moving the decimal point of the formula ingredient 2 to the left and multiplying by the desired batch size to get your ingredient gram weight. I also have a calculator to do this available on my website. I'll link that below. It's important that your scales measure down to at least 0.01 grams, if not 0.001 grams, as some of the powders and pigments that we use in lipstick are extremely light and they barely register their weight on normal scales. It's also a legal requirement when selling cosmetics in the UK that your scales are trade approved. If you're looking for a good reliable set of trade approved scales, then County Scales in the UK have a very good range. They come ready calibrated with a calibration certificate, and you can also have them recalibrate the scales every year if you want to. What I'm doing now is melting down my oil phases and silicone phases, and then allowing the mixtures to cool enough to add the cool down ingredients. These are things that are only stable at lower temperatures. I've split the oil and silicone phases depending on solubility. Some silicons will only dissolve in certain liquids and solvents, so we need to keep them in their own phase. Once melted down, we can add the phases together. I've tried to use a range of easy to find ingredients in these formulas, but in the ebook I will talk more about them and other ingredients you can use. So use these formulas as a starting point for improving on and creating your own. If you're using silicons in your lipstick formulation, note that they do require agitation whilst melting down so that they don't clump. Get yourself a good temperature gun so that you can accurately read the temperature. You'll need this for melting down certain waxes and silicons and for checking that it's the right temperature for both adding the cool down phase and for pouring. These are my first 3 lipsticks all melted down now, so we're ready to let them cool, and then we'll add our cool down phase and our pigments and get them mixed ready to pour. When it comes to pigment, you can use oxides, titanium dioxide, lakes and mica. Make sure that you're wearing a mask, ideally a respirator, when it comes to working with pigments, especially mica, as it gets airborne really easily, you'll see in this video, and it's very, very bad to breathe this in. The same goes for most of the powder ingredients that you'll see me using and I list in the ebook, so work in a well-ventilated room and use a proper respirator. For the base shades, oxides and lakes work well for an intense colour payoff, but I recommend that you grind them first so that you have a lump-free fine powder. Use titanium dioxide to lighten. This also helps a little with SPF, but don't rely on it for that. Then use mica to add shimmer and change the tone. Using mica on its own produces a fairly weak colour payoff, but it works very well for lip gloss where a more translucent effect is wanted. There are also liquid pigments available. Usually these are pre-mixed combinations of the types I mentioned in a carrier such as glycerin. This can be mixed to create more shades, but they're slightly less messy to work with. Check the regulations around colour pigments in your country, as they will vary, which is why I've not given colour blend information here. To blend colours for lipsticks, create each colour as a formula of its own, so measure the ingredients in grams and work in percentages, no teaspoons. Teaspoons are not an accurate way of measuring, as each pigment will weigh differently for 1 teaspoon's worth. If you're interested in colour pigment blending, then I can make a video with more information on pigments in general, so comment below and I'll look to do that in the future. Pour your lipsticks at around 50 degrees C or below, depending on how liquid they are. The lower the temperature for filling, the better. Use a Cosmetic syringe or mini funnel to fill the lipstick tubes and leave ½ centimetre or so for the wand displacement, otherwise you will make a mess. Some of the waxes and ingredients that we use in liquid lipstick can take a little bit to melt, so I will go over these in the ebook and how best to approach that, but don't worry, everything I've used does eventually melt and work well in the lipstick formulas. Here's what they all look like swatched, and you'll see the first natural ones I did are nearer my wrist, and then we go up to the silicone ones as we go along, and this is what they look like in the tube as well, and again on my arm when they've dried down a little bit. Notes about these formulas and full method and recipe are in the ebook, as I mentioned, which is linked below. You can either purchase on the website, or if you're a patron on Patreon, then you can claim it free. I hope you've enjoyed these videos. If you have, then leave a comment and give a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.